Have you ever noticed that some people start treating you differently when you stop trying to please them? You start saying no without feeling guilty. You stop explaining every decision you make. You stop pretending to agree just to avoid an argument. And suddenly, people who once felt comfortable around you start saying, "You've changed." Maybe they become colder. Maybe they stop reaching out. They may even make you feel like you're the problem. But what if you haven't actually become a worse person? What if you're simply no longer the version of yourself that made them feel comfortable? Carl Jung believed that sometimes, precisely when you begin becoming more authentic and true to yourself, some of your relationships begin to change. The first sign is that you start saying no without feeling guilty. Maybe you used to reply to every message, accept every request, and make yourself available whenever someone needed you. But now you've realized that saying yes to everyone often means saying no to yourself. Psychology connects this behavior to healthy boundaries and self-differentiation, the ability to maintain your own values while still staying connected to other people. You can care about someone without doing everything they want. You can disappoint someone without believing you've done something wrong. And this is where some relationships become uncomfortable. Because if someone has become used to having unlimited access to your time, attention, or energy, the boundary you set may feel like rejection to them. But setting a boundary is not rejection. A boundary simply provides information. It shows other people where you end and where they begin. The second sign is that you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You make a decision, someone questions it, and instead of spending 10 minutes explaining yourself, you simply say, "This is the decision I've made." Carl Jung's concept of the persona can help explain this. The persona is the social identity we create in order to fit in with the expectations of others. Maybe for years, you've been the kind person, the helpful person, the person who always understands everyone else. So when you suddenly stop playing that role, people may say, "You're not like you used to be." And maybe they're right. Maybe you really aren't like you used to be. Maybe you're becoming more aware of the person who exists behind that role. And when you no longer need everyone to understand your decisions, it becomes much harder for people to control you through guilt. But the third sign goes deeper. You no longer change yourself just to keep people from leaving. You stop hiding your opinions. You stop pretending to enjoy things you genuinely don't like. And you stop becoming the person someone else wants you to be simply because you're afraid of losing them. Jung called the lifelong process of becoming a more complete and authentic version of yourself individuation. It doesn't mean becoming selfish or pushing everyone away. It means discovering what truly belongs to you. Your values, your beliefs, your desires, and learning to live according to them. And this can dramatically change your relationships. Some people will understand that change. Some won't. Because maybe they weren't truly attached to you. Maybe they were attached to what you did for them. And when you stop playing that role, they may leave your life. Of course, not everyone who leaves after you change is toxic, and not every change is necessarily growth. Sometimes we distance ourselves from others and call it independence. Sometimes we become selfish and call it setting boundaries. Real growth still leaves room for empathy, accountability, and connection with other people. But if someone only stays in your life when you are quiet, agreeable, always available, and constantly adjusting yourself to meet their expectations, then maybe the reason you're losing that relationship isn't because you've changed. Maybe you're finally seeing what that relationship was asking you to become. You don't have to constantly turn yourself into someone else just to keep people around. Because the people who truly belong in your life won't only love the version of you that is convenient or useful to them. Sometimes people leave when you stop being who they want you to be. Not because you've become a worse person, but because you've finally become who you really are.